Episode 7, Simper Fidelis. I'm sure I pronounced that incorrectly, but anyway, the first thing about this episode was when you see Punisher walking into the courtroom. Even my girlfriend remarked about how the music is always so like epic. A couple things to mention as they get into this whole court case is I completely agree and I completely understand them wanting to play the PTSD card. And on the other hand, I completely agree with Frank not wanting to say it was PTSD because he knew what he was doing. It's not that he's has some disorder, but at the same time, I don't really agree with how they are portraying PTSD. It seems like they're just saying to have PTSD, you have to be a soldier and you have to get it in combat, and that's just where you have to get it. That's not what PTSD is. PTSD is post traumatic stress disorder. You can get it anytime after you've had some kind of huge stressful traumatic event, no matter what it might be. So it doesn't necessarily have to be just the fact that he fought in Afghanistan and Iraq. In this episode, there's one scene where Matt and Karen are sitting at Matt's apartment and they're going over all the case files. And Matt pretty much fully addresses the fact that Karen is doing all the work, all the law work, which I've commented on before. She's doing the blunt of the work and the research, and that she would be at least a good lawyer. Actually, she is a good lawyer. She just isn't technically a lawyer. So he addresses this and tells her, hey, we know people at Columbia. I think it's Columbia. Is it Columbia? Anyway, it's like, we know people if you want to get into law school and help you out with that. And I was like, yes, that's exactly what I've been saying since like the beginning of the season. Is she's doing the blunt of y'all's work at this law firm. So I'm glad that they addressed this. This did bring up an interesting point to me, though. Is I kind of curious now, how does Matt actually read legal documents? I understand how he sees, like, or pseudo sees, and everything else using his hearing and his just senses being heightened. But I'm not quite sure how that translates into reading words on a page. Speaking of Carrie and Matt, you do see their relationship kind of start to decline. If you can maybe read between the lines a little bit, and Matt and Electra just, higher tension between the two of them, a little bit more of a sexual tension, I guess you would say, and just that whole thing building up a little bit more. And Electra, by the way, completely screws them at the end of this episode. Spoilers, sorry. But when she beats up their key witness and like threatens him to tell whatever it is that like happened and whatever he did to these bodies and whatnot on the stand, gets his whole testimony thrown out of case because she beat him up and threatened him over it. She completely screwed their whole argument, and it was amazing or horrible or just funny, however you want to look at it. Episode 8 is titled Guilty as Sin, and I must say, Electra getting mortally wounded finally makes me like her storyline. And when they are trying to get away from this pit that they just find at the beginning of the episode, that's 40 feet, I think you said, deep, and Stick shows back up, and they're trying to get away from this, and they get in this car. And I honestly wasn't looking at the TV, just wasn't paying complete attention to it. But for a second, I was thinking that Matt was actually driving the getaway car, and kind of surprised me. I had to do a double take and start paying attention at that point. Which, back to Stick, he tells Matt this whole story of the hand. By the way, the hand finally shows up. Sorry, didn't mention it, but hand finally shows up, and Stick starts telling him this whole story of how there were a bunch of wanderers and just thieves and rapists and all this running around Asia, and then they find somehow immortality, and and there's this one kid who can save everybody or can actually fight back or something. And I think he may have said something about it in this story. Again, not necessarily paying complete attention. I tried to during the story and actually rewinded it some during that, but I never completely understood if he was saying he was supposed to be that kid, and just kind of still curious about that a little bit. By the way, this is the best possible way for Karen to find out about Elektra happens in this episode. She literally walks into some random chick in Matt's bed that has been beat the heck up, and she has no clue what's going on. And she, like, the whole build up is she thinks Matt's a drunk for some reason. So, like, this is really just no clue what's going on. Going back to Frank's storyline and his whole trial thing, he ends up on the stand and they get Matt to actually question him. It's like one of the only time Matt's actually done anything for this trial, really, it seems like. So they get him on the stand, Matt's questioning him, and he does this whole big scene of like, I would have done it, I did it, I would do it again, I'm guilty, you know, like, I killed all these people, I knew what I was doing, it wasn't PTSD, you know. And so they have to drag him out of the courtroom, and, you know, Matt and Foggy and Karen and all of them are just like, what just happened? The scene at the end of the movie where they're like escorting Frank through the jail and you don't really know what is going on, and it's just there's something shady going on with the police, obviously, anyway, but you just don't know what's about to happen. This whole scene reminds me of that one scene in Sons of Anarchy. You know what I'm talking about? I'm like, what is about to happen? And then at the very end, I don't know how I didn't see this coming. It's so obvious, it doesn't even make sense that I didn't see it coming at all. And you see Wilson Fisk in the prison, and he is about to talk to Frank Castle, and something's about to go down with that. So my predictions from this point has got something to do with Wilson Fisk. Wilson Fisk kind of threw a monkey wrench in there for me a little bit, so I don't know what exactly to expect at this point. I still think that Frank is going to get busted out of jail. I just think now that Fisk is going to have something to do with it, and so Fisk is going to somehow break him out, and then the Daredevil or Matt is going to have to chase him down again and try and get him back to prison. And so they're going to kind of be enemies again. I can see that happening, and I can see them doing that, and it'll be like one of those things where Fisk, like, they break each other out, so he has to owe Fisk a favor or something like that. Could see that happening, and he gets tied into Wilson Fisk. I don't know that I like it a whole lot. I just kind of see it happening. But again, that it's going to make the Punisher more of a bad guy, more of like being an evil bad person. And he's not. He is an anti-hero for sure, but he's not like just everybody's bad guy. He is a hero, but you're anti-hero. And I don't know how I like him being tied in with the bad people. So I don't know. Like I said, Elektra's storyline kind of has me a bit more intrigued than it did. We have the Hand involved now. We have Stick back. So I can kind of get into it a little better. Elektra doesn't know at this point what she wants to do. She don't know if she wants to help Stick or help Daredevil, because Daredevil doesn't want to kill people, but Stick is okay with killing people. So that's their main, division and whatnot. So Elektra kind of wants to stick with Daredevil, but she kills somebody at the end of this, and that's a big no-no for Matt, at least. So, kind of unsure what she's going to be doing from here on out. I still say, again, she just kind of leaves everybody. I still, my personal prediction. So, I don't really know, though. I think the Hand is going to be a bigger play, and as they start building the Hand up maybe a bit more, she just kind of falls back to the background because she doesn't know what she wants to do. But I'm just looking forward to seeing the Hand and some sort of actual cohesive story plot that can be played into that.